Imagine the high Himalayas, utter silence. And then on a cold November morning in 2025, that silence is just completely broken. And it's a sound that, well, it really shook things up in South Asian geopolitics.
It was this deep, metallic roar. It belonged to an Indian Air Force C-130J Super Hercules, a big tactical lifter. And it was touching down on a brand new runway at 13,700 feet.
Wow. And that landing, that was basically the grand opening. The Indian Air Chief himself was on board to declare the Nyoma Airbase fully operational.
Exactly. And just like that, you have one of the world's highest and, crucially, fully capable air bases.
So this wasn't just another upgrade.
Oh, no. This is arguably India's most significant strategic move, at least on the border, since that whole standoff with China began back in 2020.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive. We need to understand why this combination, the altitude, the location, the timing, why it makes Nyoma such a critical piece on this high-stakes chessboard. So let's jump right in.
Uncover the truth behind headlines, where opinions collide and answers surprise. Dive into the debates that matter most. Expect the unexpected in every conversation, from whispers to world affairs. What next?
The geography. First things first, where exactly is Nyoma?
It's in the Lee district, right on the northern bank of the Indus River. But that's not the important part. The metric you really need to hold on to here is proximity.
Proximity to what?
To the line of actual control, the LAC. We're talking just 23 to 35 kilometers away. It's frighteningly close.
23 kilometers, that's nothing in terms of air travel. Before this, the main hub was the airbase at Lee, right? Which is much further back.
Much further. And that distance translates to time.
So what does this closeness really buy India, strategically speaking?
It buys time. And in mountain warfare, time is priceless. Nyoma puts a fully capable airbase just minutes away from these critical flashpoints in Eastern Ladakh. I mean, think of places like Depsang, Pangong So, Demchok.
The same places we heard about constantly in 2020.
Exactly. So if a situation flares up, the response time is it's compressed massively. It gets rid of that geographic cushion that used to slow everything down.
And it's just wild to think that this huge strategic base, it started as basically nothing.
A historical footnote, really. The sources say it was a forgotten, mud-paved landing strip back in 1962.
And then what happened?
Well, it was briefly revived in 2009. An AN-32 landed there, sort of a symbolic thing. But it really took the pressure, the urgency of the 2020 standoff to turn Nyoma into a real national priority.
Okay, let's talk about the construction, because building anything at that altitude sounds like a nightmare.
It is. The Border Roads Organization, specifically a group called Project Himank, their high-altitude specialists, they had to build this in an unbelievably unforgiving environment.
So what did they actually build?
A whole airbase. From scratch. New air traffic control towers, hardened hangars, crash bays, and the heart of it all, a 2.7-kilometer rigid runway.
While fighting temperatures that drop to, what, minus 30?
Minus 30, minus 40 degrees Celsius. Routinely. I mean, can you imagine trying to lay concrete or just operate heavy machinery when the metal itself gets brittle from the cold? The engineering feat here is just monumental.
You mentioned a rigid runway.
Yeah.
Why concrete? Asphalt's usually cheaper, faster to lay. Why insist on concrete?
Survival, longevity. At that altitude, you have constant freeze-thaw cycles all year round. And that process absolutely tears asphalt apart. It destabilizes it.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to base heavy, high-performance aircraft there for decades, you need something that lasts. The concrete ensures the base is hardened, that it's operational year-round, no matter what the temperature is doing.
So the fortress is built. Let's look at how it's used. Its immediate function, you said, is high-altitude logistics. Is that just a fancy way of saying supply delivery?
It's so much more than that. In a place like this, logistics is survival. It's also deterrence. That C-130J landing proved Nyoma can handle heavy-lift aircraft. And that means you can rapidly move hundreds of troops, heavy artillery, fuel, drones, and just tons of ammunition right into the forward area.
Right. So instead of a long, treacherous road journey from Leh, they can just fly these huge assets basically to the front door.
Precisely. And don't forget the helicopters. The rotary wing component is the lifeline up there. Chinooks for heavy transport, Apache gunships, Mi-17s. They were already using the basic strip during the crisis in 2020 and 2021 for quick deployments and ISR missions.
ISR, so intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance.
The eyes and ears. Nyoma now gives them a permanent, robust home base.
Which brings us to the bigger picture. Nyoma isn't an island. It's the fourth major airbase in Ladakh now, right?
Yeah.
It joins Leh, Kargil, and Toys.
Right. It creates a layered network.
And what does the network achieve that a single base couldn't?
It gives you comprehensive coverage. Redundancy. Think of Nyoma as the main hub for heavy lift and rapid deployment, but it works with smaller, more tactical hubs.
Like what? What's an example?
Look at a place called Chushul. Chushul is only 4 kilometers from the LAC itself, and it's being revived as a forward hub specifically for drones and light helicopters.
So Chushul is the eyes and ears you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Chushul is the eyes and ears right on the line, while Nyoma is the muscle ready to surge forces in. This layered setup means they can maintain constant surveillance and react instantly to anything.
Okay, so if we zoom out, China has been building this huge network of roads and rails across Tibet. They can move huge amounts of material volume.
Right.
And what you're saying is India, with Nyoma, is compensating for that volume with speed, air velocity.
That's the strategic trade-off, perfectly put. They're trading land volume for airspeed. Nyoma means reinforcements don't get stuck in mountain passes for days. They arrive overhead in minutes. And that speed, well, that's a deterrent all by itself. It denies your opponent the element of surprise.
Okay, we have to talk about the big question, the one that always comes up with these high-altitude bases. Fighter jets, will it host them?
The plan is a clear yes. The intention is to base aircraft like the Rafales and the Sukhoi 30 MKIs there. They'd be in what's called a quick reaction alert, QRA role, by early 2026. But intent runs straight into the harsh reality of physics at 13,700 feet.
Explain that. How does thin air actually limit a fighter jet?
The physics is brutal. So thin air means less air density passing over the wings. That means less lift. It also means the jet engines are starved of oxygen, so you get a severe reduction in thrust. You basically lose performance across the board.
How much performance are we talking about?
The sources suggest a jet could lose 30 to 40% of its sea level performance at that altitude.
Wow. So what does that mean for a pilot trying to take off from Nyoma?
It means severe limitations. You need a much, much longer takeoff roll to get airborne. You're forced to reduce your weapons payload, sometimes significantly. And you might even have to reduce your fuel load just to get off the ground safely.
So that 2.7-kilometer runway is absolutely essential.
It's the bare minimum needed to make up for that lost air density, especially for a heavy fighter like the Su-30.
So the fighters at Nyoma, they aren't going to be taking off with a full bomb load for a deep strike mission.
Exactly. Their role is proximity, immediate response. They're there to change the deterrence game just by being able to show up over a hot spot on the LAC in minutes, even with a lighter load.
They're rapid interceptors.
The ultimate rapid interceptors, and the Air Force is drafting entirely new procedures for this base. They're optimizing acceleration profiles, even timing launches for cooler times of day like dawn or dusk when the air is a tiny bit denser. Everything is about one goal: get there first.
But this move, this whole base, it didn't happen in a vacuum. It's a direct response to what's happening across the border.
That's absolutely correct. You have to see Nyoma as India playing catch-up to China's 5-year overhaul of all its major airfields in the region. Places like Hotan, Kashgar, Shigatse, and especially in Gari-Gunsa. And those bases host China's most advanced aircraft, maybe even the J-20 stealth fighter.
Let's focus on Gari-Gunsa. That's the most direct comparison, isn't it?
It is.
It's only slightly higher than Nyoma, but its runway is 4.5 kilometers long. That's almost 2 kilometers longer.
And at altitude, that difference is critical. Nungari Gunsa's runway lets Chinese fighters maximize their fuel and weapon loads despite the thin air. They built for scale and depth.
Which raises the question, if China has that scale, why is Nyoma, with its shorter runway, still considered such a strategic win for India?
Because they're trading that scale for something else.
Tactical proximity.
Exactly. India is signaling that, look, we may not match your infrastructure depth or your maximum payload from that one base, but we surpass you in reaction time. We can maintain readiness right on the boundary line. Nyoma closes a huge gap.
So Nyoma sets a new military baseline. It's not about escalating a conflict, it's about creating a kind of equilibrium.
That is the key military takeaway. Nyoma forces this recognition that neither side can achieve a tactical surprise anymore because air power is now deployed right at the frontier. It signals a permanent, long-term forward readiness.
Now, here's the twist. The part that often gets missed when we talk about giant military projects. Nyoma is planned as a dual-use airfield.
Right. And this is what elevates the project beyond just defense. The plan for civilian flights is a crucial part of a bigger strategy for Ladakh. It's about integrating defense needs with local welfare and economic growth.
So what are the actual non-military benefits for people living there?
Well, think about connectivity. Faster access for medical emergencies is a huge one. It links these remote communities to major hospitals. It can support tourism, which is a major economic driver. And it just generally improves the integration of the local population. It's part of a much bigger push. New roads, new tunnels, all designed to make sure the local people benefit directly from this huge strategic investment.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. What does this mean for you, the listener, trying to keep track of this high-altitude chess game? Nyoma becoming operational. It's not just a technical milestone. It represents a new clarity, a new level of preparedness and persistence at extreme altitude. It basically confirms that the 2020 standoff changed everything for the long haul.
It did. In the Great Game in Ladakh, the balance of power will no longer tilt just because one side had a geographical head start. Nyoma ensures that both sides have now established this foundation of sustained forward readiness. And the ultimate question you have to consider is this. When the military baseline is set this high at 13,700 feet, what does that mean for long-term stability in a region where both powers are now permanently poised for rapid air combat? This shift in the mountains is a major new reality we all need to watch for decades to come.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.